Hi, my name's Lindy and welcome to my channel. My website is www.lindycowling.co.uk and my email is info@lindycowling.co.uk. The title of this video today is What Happens When My Beloved Pet Dies? What happens when my beloved pet dies? Now, the reason I'm bringing out this video is this is something that is very dear to my heart, having just had, just 4 weeks ago today, my beautiful 6-year-old, which is very young for a cat die of cancer. Over a very short period of time. We only knew he was unwell for about a 4-week period. So all very traumatic and very shocking and very sad, and one of many animals that have passed over really since 2019 into 2020. A lot of animals are going en masse. So it's something that's very dear to my heart, and as this is an experiential channel, which means I only talk about things and share things and channel about things and teach about things that I have personally experienced. I felt I would share this because I hope that it would help others of you that go through an experience where a beloved animal, which is a beloved family member, passes over. So as you know, we are all energy. So we start as mist or essence or form or consciousness, and then we drop down into expressions of that consciousness, such as soul families, such as, let's say, physical families. And as we drop down into those, we then drop down still further into a more physical form, shall we say, such as a vehicle, such as the soul, and come into form. So when we come into form on the human planet as humans, through human expression of consciousness, we come through into different families and different situations. When a pet or an animal, whatever that animal is, an animal's expression of consciousness again drops down from essence, from mist, into a more, let's say, semi-solid form, like the form of soul. So spirit comes into the vehicle of soul and then manifests as consciousness physically as an animal. So when a beloved animal, whatever that animal is, so I'm using my cat as the example, but it could be a dog, it could be a rabbit, it could be a bird, it could be, 100 different expressions of animal here, horse, anything and everything. They are also energy and also consciousness expressing. So we have this wonderful gift of connecting with these expressions of consciousness in the forms of cats, dogs, horses, birds, whatever that is, rabbits, whatever the form is, and loving them and them loving us. And it's an amazing, extraordinary, I would say, go as far as to say life-changing bond, because animals really teach us about living in the now. They teach us about living in the present. They teach us all about that really beautiful love, what people would call unconditional love. It's that pure love, really, source love, in the moment love, that is completely kind of exudes from them, and we're kind of giving it back. So it teaches us very much about keeping present. It teaches us about love. And they are beautiful, beautiful expressions and are huge family members. Anyone who has had a pet die in whatever circumstances will know exactly where I'm coming from on this. They are a member of the family, just like your other children, just like any other relations in the family. They are family members, and when they pass, it is devastating, because it is the same as losing a beloved family member. So the amazing thing is, and I'm going to share this personally because it's an experiential channel, when Binx became unwell, which was very sudden, and there really wasn't very many signs of anything much before Christmas, and then everything just really went downhill very quickly. When he became unwell, we had to make the decision, because he was found to have an unusual form of cancer that was very aggressive. It started showing up as a tumour in his stomach, but very quickly he went downhill within days, and they found another 3 tumours in his lungs. So basically everywhere they was looking, they were finding tumours. So I had the absolutely appalling decision to make of, I have to let him go and release him from his physical expression of consciousness before he starts to go into a lot of suffering here, and have the vet come to my home and inject him, euthanize him so that he died, which was absolutely horrendous. We each have our own unique, amazing bonds with our animals. Whatever animal they are, we have this profound love for them, and we have a relationship with them. We have a connection with them. And for me, he was, and still is, really like a little boy. And I felt like his mum, really. And he really was with me through some of the most challenging periods of my life, and big chunks of my life where I was completely alone, apart from him. And really I credit him with me still being alive today, to be quite honest. He was just amazing. Everybody that met him commented on him being an extraordinary cat. So when you have a bond like that, and then you go through them dying in whatever circumstances, whether you had to make the call on them passing, or whether it was taken out of your hands and they were in a car accident, hit by a vehicle, or whatever it was, or they go missing, you'll know where I'm coming from on this. So in my own personal experience of this, when he died, the vet confirmed he had died, and then I said I would like to hold him in my arms, because my instincts were I needed to hold him. Now, it wasn't like a mother with a child needing to hold them, although it was a bit like that. My instincts were it's important for me to hold him. I just knew I had to hold him. So the vet left, and then there was about an hour and a half gap before someone was going to arrive from a pet crematorium to cremate him individually. I just felt strongly I didn't want him to be cremated with lots of other animals. I wanted him to be cremated on his own, and then his ashes brought back. So when I sat with him, it was extraordinarily painful, as you all know if you've gone through this, or as you can imagine if you haven't, because you physically obviously don't want them to leave, and physically don't want them to go, but at the same time you know their suffering is over. And whilst I was holding him, my adult children were in the room some of the time, and then it was too much for them and they left the room. And I was kind of a mixture of crying and talking to Binx. And during that time I said to my children, the vet has said he's died, but I know he's still here, because I can 100% feel him. 100%, I'll stake my life on it. And he was still with his body. And I knew from my own awareness, having worked in energy for 20 years, that sometimes people and animals, they don't immediately cross over. They stay with the body, sometimes for minutes, sometimes for hours, sometimes for longer than that. They stay around the body before they cross. If they're going to cross over, they stay for a while sometimes. And sometimes it is quicker than that. So in Binx's case, I think because it wasn't a natural death, He was very ill and going to die, probably would have lingered on another week, but in terrible suffering. Because the vet sedated him first, so he'd been asleep, then the vet sedated him, and then he died. I think he probably just didn't quite know what hit him. It all happened within about 15 minutes. His consciousness was still there, so sitting with him, it was an extraordinary thing, because although it was extraordinarily painful, I knew it was the right thing to do. And after I'd held him for exactly 58 minutes, it was at 58 minutes that I felt the most overwhelming, let's say, angelic, amazing love. Obviously I can see and feel energy and decode it as a medium clairvoyant anyway. So I felt it was like a giant cloud, or like a giant mist of energy rising up from him that was absolutely the most beautiful bliss, would be the word, energy you can imagine. And then that consciousness that was his left this building and left his body. It was at 58 minutes after he was pronounced dead that he actually left. Now, because this is an experiential channel, I'm sharing this because I know this to be true, because I've lived through it. And for about half an hour after he had left his body, I felt an extraordinary sense of peace and love and calm. I had no doubt where he had gone, and that he had gone on as consciousness to somewhere amazing, to the other side. And it was only about half an hour later that really then I was devastated, because of the physical loss of his physical presence here. That's really where it kicks in with anyone we love. It's them physically not being here. 2 nights before he died, I dreamt that he was in a garden and that I came to visit him in that garden, and that garden was filled with yellow roses. 2 days after he died, and I announced on social media I would be keeping a low profile because of the loss of my beloved cat, but also my children's grandmother died, and then we were in a very near-miss car accident, me and one of my other children, which could have been awful, but turned out, thank the Lord, to be fine. I made an announcement and put a picture of him up on social media. A lovely client of mine who does artwork, I hadn't shared this story with her about the yellow roses, sent me an angelic expression in art of him in a garden of yellow roses with a yellow rose under his paw, which I dreamt of the same garden 2 nights before, the entry point to him as the expression of his consciousness going over. So then 4 days after that, I had to do a client session with someone. Now, I was in an intense amount of grief, but when it came to working, I was able to go completely into my essence or spiritual zone and come straight from the heart and work very effectively. During that session, parts of my client's consciousness I picked up on was still interacting in another expression, in another life or another timeline, if you like. So I was working on that and integrating that expression of her consciousness so that it would come back into the now, into the whole her. In that expression of that timeline or past life, there was somebody with her that was stuck there as a ghost. I know it sounds woo-woo. That's the kind of world I work in. So there was a girl that was there as a ghost who made it clear before I came out of that reality, can you help me go where I need to go, because I'm stuck here basically. So I am able to cross spirit over if they're stuck, if they haven't gone to where they need to go. If they're a ghost, I am able to do rescue work and cross a spirit over. I've done this many times before. So I opened up a portal, if you like, or entry point, exit point really, for her to go over where she needed to go to do my stuff. And the second I opened that exit point, it became a garden full of yellow roses, and my cat Binx came running up. Now I kind of shook my head in disbelief because I thought, what the hell is he doing in my session here? And I thought maybe it's just wishful thinking, I'm missing him, maybe it's wishful thinking, and I tried to kind of push the image away and I couldn't. So I said to the little girl, can you see the cat over there? And she could. And I said, watch the cat. I said, and he's going to run through the garden. He's running towards the sun. He's running towards the light. Can you chase him for me and run towards the light and the sun through the garden? And she did. She ran after my cat, who ran into the light and the sunshine, and she crossed over. Now, as Christ consciousness, or God is my witness, Source is my witness, that is the truth. And she crossed over, and that's the first time I've had to cross a spirit over where my own cat came to assist with the crossing there. Through the garden of flowers. You could ask why he is in a garden of flowers. I don't feel he is in a garden of flowers all the time. I feel his consciousness is infinite, it's everywhere, and it's expressing in the way he wants to express. Sometimes he's expressing in the garden of flowers over there. I think that's his little entry point. It's his little portal. It's his little bridge that he ran through and then he comes back through. But I don't feel he is there all the time. The most extraordinary knowing has come to me that just as we are consciousness, and when we go to the other side, we express the way that we expect to express, that we like to express, and we kind of grow and expand over there and create instantly. Pretty much with our animals there, they are consciousness, they are expressing, they are expanding, they are filled with love and peace, and they very much experience on their entry point through to the other side what is going to make them feel wonderful and happy and secure. I mean, they don't have the same needs in that sense as human. It's very much, let's say in some ways they're closer to source than we are because they're less complicated. They just go straight to the source that they are. They become infinite, beautiful consciousness again. And really, it also came to me, which is the most amazing thing as all. It's not, I never doubted that pets go on. I mean, working as a medium, many people's pets would come back and I would give evidence of those pets to people that were grieving pets. Many, many times pets turn up in sessions. But it really came to me clearly, totally clearly, that as we are infinite consciousness, that we are everywhere all at the same time, not just here, not just now, not just Lindy here on this YouTube video, but everywhere in all timelines and realities at the same time, on planet, off planet, on the other side. I'm still on the other side as well as being here as consciousness. But it came to me in the absolute knowing that I am also there with him in consciousness, as are his brothers, my two sons, there with him in consciousness as well as being here on the earth plane. That really it came to me in the knowing, not just in a conceptual analytical form, that we are all places at the same time. We are truly infinite. We are on planet, off planet, over the other side and here, expressing as that infinite consciousness. And that truly, nothing really is truly lost, but that it just keeps morphing and changing form. It is an amazing thing, and I really truly know that our animals can express consciousness again, just as we do. They can become earthbound again, or they can express in their higher forms in alternate realities and dimensions. It's an amazing, amazing thing, and it does bring comfort. it isn't the same as having them with you physically, any more than losing any family member. It isn't the same as having them with you physically. And yet it does bring some comfort to have absolute validation of where they are. There is one last part of this story I will share. In fact, two last parts, because it's just come to me. In the first weeks that I got Binx, I got him from a rescue centre. He had already been traumatised once and dumped there, and then they tried to rehome him twice and he was dumped back. So we were fourth time lucky, and we never looked back. We loved him absolutely, he loved us. We used to call him the most beautiful, perfect cat in the world. He was beautiful, still is beautiful. I kept getting dreams of my grandfather that had died many years before, and he kept giving me a message, and I knew it wasn't a normal dream. It was one of those etheric kind of interactive dreams where he said Corky. He kept talking about Corky, and I kept thinking, well, that used to be Granddad's white and black dog. It was mainly white with some black on it on the earth plane. Why does he keep talking about Corky? And Granddad kept taking me through memories that he had when he was younger, memories I didn't even know about, and my mother confirmed later when I told her. And he kept on, and I couldn't get the message, and I just kept getting Corky. Then a week later he came through again, Corky, Corky, Corky's the cat. And I thought he was making a joke, saying that my Binx, who was a white cat with bits of black on, was like his dog Corky, or he was making a joke about Corky the cat, an old cartoon that used to be on in my granddad's era. And then I realised what he was trying to say. He was trying to say Corky is the cat, Corky's the cat. That his dog Corky, that had passed many years before, as had my granddad, had come back as Binx the cat. Once I got the message, my granddad didn't appear again because I'd got the message. I had a childhood surrounded by animals. I didn't during my years that I was married because my ex-husband was allergic to fur, but I was surrounded by animals. It was like a zoo. And so I know the difference between the behaviours of dogs and cats. And my cat, half of his behaviour was like a cat, half of it was like a dog. You know, he behaved more like a dog. So it was a running joke in the family that Binx has come as really, let's say, the reincarnation or the expression of consciousness. My granddad's dog Corky had come back round again in that form. The final part of this story, which I hope will bring you comfort, is as follows. In the first 10 days of I can only describe as intense grief over the loss, the moving on, the full expression of my cat's consciousness, which meant he died and wasn't here with us, with me. We went to a rescue centre for animals just because we felt we wanted to be around rescue animals. Somehow it would honour him because he was so wonderful and changed our lives so much. It was a sunny winter's day in the United Kingdom. And on that walk round, we were seeing animals celebrating being alive. And it kind of made us happy because we looked at the sunshine, and something about the sun makes us think that he went into the light and he went into the sun and he is still there. And we know he's still there. My son, who was with me, one of my younger sons, I have two sons, picked up some books that you could donate money for to take home and read. These books were not about animals. That night, when he was feeling really sad and the loss was still very profound over Binx, he opened his book to read it, and a beautiful piece of artwork fell out in the form of a card. The card showed a huge, great yellow sun coming down over the water, and two cats with their heads pressed closely together, and it said the word togetherness. And when we opened that card, In it were written the words, although I am hundreds of miles away from you. Did you just see the lights flash here as I'm saying this? What a validation. Thanks, Spirit. Although I am hundreds of miles away from you, I still love you. That is still intensely moving, because that is an intensely angelic message that came straight from the guys upstairs who flashed the lights on cue here to validate it, to say that consciousness, they still go on, we still go on, the love is there, the love is real, it's all from the heart, and it is infinite. It was his calling card, his way of giving that thumbs up. And on that note, I'm going to love you and leave you. I hope that brings you some comfort if you've gone through something like this, if you're going through it, or if you go through it at some point when you find this video. They don't end any more than we do. It is infinite, and yes, it's painful. It's painful when they go, but it's also quite amazing, and the validation has been extraordinary, although beautiful but also excruciating. Such is life. I'll love you and leave you. Thanks, guys. Bye.